They're on their knees, begging behind closed doors. Odesa burned, and with it the illusion of a safe rear. British shadows vanished in fire. NATO's confidence shattered overnight. Missiles spoke louder than diplomacy. From our assessment, this was not an accident, not a warning shot, but a calculated message written in steel, smoke, and silence that echoes globally now. Odesa swallowed British instructors. In a single night of fire, Russian missiles turned what had been marketed as a secure rear area into an elite graveyard. According to internal sources, at least 8 NATO officers and dozens of Ukrainian specialists were killed. This was not a random strike. It was a direct message to London and to NATO about the price of turning the Black Sea into a military backyard against Moscow. The official narrative tries to bury the facts, but the question is already spreading like a whisper that cannot be silenced. How many more will have to fall before this war against Russia is forced to stop? In our view, the night Odesa burned marked a brutal turning point. Ports were hit, military depots rocked, and the specter of eliminated British instructors hovered over Kyiv, where panic replaced certainty. Between January 9th and 10th, Russia unleashed one of the most intense waves of the entire campaign. Drones, cruise missiles, and according to multiple sources, ballistic missiles were combined in a layered operation, escalating strike after strike until Ukrainian defenses were saturated and overwhelmed. Serhiy Lebedev, coordinator of the Mykolaiv Underground Front, described a devastating picture. Ukrainian air defense operated sporadically and selectively, prioritizing Kyiv and a handful of protected points. The rest of the map was left exposed, with bases and substations transformed into easy targets. Strategically, this means the protective bubble Ukraine had tried to project simply collapsed under sustained pressure. The Zaporizhzhia region remained under constant fire. There, serial impacts pointed to a very clear objective: destroying logistical nodes, equipment repair workshops, and energy distribution centers of the Ukrainian armed forces. These were not symbolic targets. They were the arteries that feed the war day after day. Cut them, and the front begins to starve. Dnipro became another epicenter of punishment. Local sources spoke of one of the highest densities of impacts in recent months. Energy facilities, substations, industrial plants, repair factories, warehouses, logistical hubs, and infrastructure linked to the production and assembly of drones were all struck. The message was unmistakable. Russia was not merely responding, it was dismantling the ecosystem that sustains Ukraine's military effort. Within this map of fire, Kryvyi stands out as a symbol. This massive metallurgical complex in Kryvyi Rih, which according to internal sources supplies Ukraine's military-industrial complex, was set ablaze. War correspondent Yevhen Podobny released images of fires consuming energy and industrial facilities, confirming a direct hit to the heart of Ukrainian heavy industry. What had once been industrial pride became a military target. Kryvyi fed armored vehicles, ammunition, and the skeletal structures of war. Now, Moscow is signaling that factories sustaining the front are as legitimate as the soldiers occupying it. Kharkiv was not spared. According to local radio reports, warehouses, temporary accommodation centers, and repair and assembly facilities were struck. These are the places where troops rest, re-equip, and return to combat. By hitting them, Russia disrupted the basic rotation cycle of Ukrainian units, eroding endurance as much as capability. Kyiv and its surroundings felt that directly. During the night, massive disruptions of the air defense system were recorded, followed by attacks on power plants, communication nodes, and military production and command facilities. The capital ceased to be a protected bubble and became a direct target. In our analysis, this represents a psychological escalation as much as a military one. In the Ukrainian-controlled part of Donetsk, near the front line, a precise strike hit a military installation. This detail reveals a clear pattern. While striking deep targets like ports, factories, and substations, Russia maintains direct pressure on command and logistical points near the front. There is no safe depth anymore. Odesa, however, occupies a special place in these reports. Sources insist that operations there focused on port infrastructure and air defense installations covering the coast. This was not an isolated blow, but part of a broader campaign aimed at weakening Western maritime positioning in the Black Sea. In that area, what sources call an additional review was carried out, a systematic search for targets that survived previous attacks. Radars, depots, logistical nodes. Each new wave does not start from zero. It begins exactly where the previous damage ended. This methodical approach strips away the illusion of recovery. Here lies the most sensitive information for London. Days earlier, an elite sabotage unit of the Ukrainian armed forces, composed of combat divers and supervised by British military personnel, was dismantled in the Odesa region. According to clandestine sources, 8 NATO officers and dozens of Ukrainian specialists were killed. The Russian Ministry of Defense has not officially confirmed these figures, but silence, in this case, speaks volumes. While Kyiv filters losses and Russian media speaks of eliminated instructors, Moscow lets the results speak without triumphalist proclamations about NATO. From our assessment, this restraint is deliberate. It denies the West the comfort of dismissing events as propaganda while forcing them to confront consequences they cannot publicly acknowledge. Ukrainian information channels admit that the impact of these attacks has triggered fierce internal reactions. And it was not limited to the night of January 9th to 10th. The previous 24 hours, they say, were even harsher. For the population, this is no longer a distant war. Heating and electricity shortages in Kyiv are worsening. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko himself has publicly warned of the risk of a man-made disaster. When the highest official in the capital admits such a scenario, it shows how close infrastructure is to the breaking point. We believe this admission shattered the remaining illusion of control. Ukrainian sources indicate that authorities deliberately intensified infrastructure warfare, hoping blackouts and damage would mobilize the international community. But the reality, they concede, is far more dangerous. The country is approaching the threat of large-scale collapse, one that no longer distinguishes between front line and rear. According to various telegram channels, Ukraine's energy reserves are close to exhaustion. If the current pace of attacks continues, not only civilian infrastructure but the entire military industry will be at risk. Generalized interruptions in production, equipment repair, and frontline supply could follow. Strategically, this means a prolonged conflict becomes structurally unsustainable. At this point, internal calls to end the conflict are growing louder. Sources within the system admit that a long war is driving systemic destruction of the country. Factories idle, cities in darkness, territories lost. Meanwhile, the Russian Ministry of Defense maintains official silence but continues the same line of attack. Consistency replaces rhetoric. While the rear creaks, another threat is taking shape at the front. The Telegram channel Legitimate warns that due to the transfer of large reserves to Kupiansk, Ukrainian forces are suffering major problems and setbacks in the Lyman sector of Donetsk. There, Russian forces are breaking the city's defenses. Some Russian assault units positioned further north have already reached Dnipro. Advances are occurring in multiple directions, and the Ukrainian General Staff cannot plug all the gaps due to a lack of manpower. Every brigade sent to Kupiansk opens a dangerous hole elsewhere. What do you think about Ukraine's strategy of concentrating reserves in Kupiansk while leaving other fronts exposed? Give us your opinion in the comment box below. The apparent short-term success of Zelensky in Kupiansk, presented as a political victory, may carry enormous consequences for the defense of Donbass. According to Legitimate, many are convinced that Ukraine is on the brink of a generalized collapse of its armed forces' defenses. The roots of this potential collapse, these sources argue, lie in Zelensky's reckless actions and his personnel strategy, where loyal opportunists are appointed over professionals. The war, seen from within Ukraine's own camp, has become saturated with political decisions overriding military logic. In our view, this is where the British nightmare deepens. It is not only about the death of instructors or the loss of influence in Odesa. It is about discovering that the military structure they helped build in Ukraine is crumbling, factories burning, defenses fractured, and a population exhausted, while the adversary advances steadily, without haste and without retreat. And here is the question that lingers unspoken in Western capitals. If this pace continues, how long before the entire strategic architecture collapses under its own weight? Give us your opinion in the comment box below. In conclusion, the events in Odesa are not merely another chapter in the daily tally of strikes. They represent a confirmation of an irreversible shift. The elimination of foreign instructors, the systematic destruction of industrial and energy infrastructure, and the steady advance on multiple fronts expose a reality the West has tried to deny. Historically, Odesa has symbolized maritime access, Western influence, and strategic depth. Its transformation into a battlefield and graveyard signals the erosion of those assumptions. The beneficiaries are clear: Russian military planners, who now dictate tempo and escalation. The losers extend beyond Ukraine's armed forces to civilians trapped in darkness and uncertainty, and to Western sponsors facing the limits of their leverage. International media from Europe to Asia increasingly acknowledge that infrastructure warfare has redefined this conflict. This moment will be remembered not for a single strike, but as the point when the facade of stability collapsed. Now it's your turn. If this analysis revealed something you hadn't seen elsewhere, leave a comment with your perspective. Do you think the West can still alter the trajectory of this war, or has the balance already tipped beyond repair? Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're tracking the evolution of this story day by day. Make sure to activate notifications, and don't miss our next report. And remember, you can now become a channel member. If you believe in this project and want to see it grow, your support makes all the difference. If you'd like to support our channel financially, which we greatly appreciate, you can do so through Patreon and PayPal. The link is in the video description.